our webinar today. Today we'll be talking about the opportunity to join the Inspark Next Generation Science Courseware Evaluation. My name is Melanie Mulvey. I am the Assistant Director of Programs here at Achieving the Dream. And before we get started, I just want to take a minute to let you know who's on the phone with us today and to let you know how to use the technology. So on the call with us today, we have David Schonstein, the Director of Network Development from Smart Sparrow, Renee Robuelta, who is a faculty member at Miami-Dade College, and Cindy Lenhart, VP for Community College Relations here at Achieving the Dream. For those of you who have not used GoToWebinar before, if at any point during the presentation you have questions, feel free to type your questions into the question bar. You'll see it on your right in the control panel. There will also be an opportunity to ask questions towards the end. So now I'm going to hand it over to David to get us started. David?
Thank you, Melanie, and thank you everybody for joining. I hope you will, some of you know about this program, and I hope this will be informative. We want to leave lots of time at the end for questions, so please type in your questions as we go or at the end, and I will do my best to give you an overview of what this program means, of what Inspark is, and the benefits of joining this evaluation program. The agenda today, we were going to cover what actually Inspark is, because this will be the first time that a number of you have heard about this program or this project. Even though we're about a year in, and a number of people on this call have already been involved, I'd like to just take a few minutes also to show you the courseware, show you the online kind of learning experience as a student sees it. And give you a sense of what the two courses that are available, what they're like. Then we'll go into the details of exactly what institutions and faculty and students receive as part of this evaluation, as a part of this courseware evaluation. And it's an RFP, but an RFP in maybe the looser sense. There is no really strict evaluation or selection that's going to be taking place, but obviously we do have some limited resources, and that will be kind of done in the form of an RFP. Then we'll hand it over to and have just a discussion with Renee, who's joining us, who's a incredible faculty that has been doing amazing things at Miami-Dade College with this courseware already. Then we'll talk about the next steps and open it up to questions. So with that, I'm going to launch in and try and frame the meeting with what Inspark is. It's an initiative really to reimagine how science education, and to do this, we essentially are building with a generous Gates Foundation grant, what we call Next Generation Science Courseware. And this is online learning experiences that can be used in a variety of modes of teaching. So it can be a fully online course, turnkey, or it can be a course that is used blended. So streamline that precious face-to-face time. Have students work on activities as homework, and use that time in class, get them to really learn difficult concepts that you can't teach with a multiple choice question. Get them to do that, maybe even work with them in class on these simulations and exercises. So that's what we mean by next generation courseware. It is not courseware that could ever replace faculty. It's only designed to streamline that precious face-to-face. As good as the courseware is, it can never really get the student to that high-level thinking, and that's where we want to go with this project, is to really get students to appreciate that science is an exploration of the unknown, not just facts they need to master. And so we're doing this by seeding a network, and so that's really key to this project. Is we are working directly with faculty from the ground up. We're building this courseware and getting feedback from faculty and involving them in the process, and they're sharing and collaborating. And that's the only way that we're going to actually be able to achieve anything, because it's a really ambitious project. We're definitely the most ambitious project of all the grantees currently under this Next Generation Courseware Challenge. And we can't do it alone. We really need your help. So everyone on this call, it's a call out, because we need your help. And finally, it's all powered with some technology that really allows what we call pedagogical ownership. It allows faculty to control, customize, adapt the courseware, only use one module, only use one lesson, incorporate your own videos, for example, even change the feedback the students receive. This is what the technology allows for, and we think it's really it's a really important component. Okay, so we're motivated by the fact that there has been a big push towards online, but we think you can do a lot more with the technology. And this is an interesting slide in which we really see this next generation courseware as another class of courseware. It's outside. It integrates with the LMS, but the LMS, as you all know, can be limiting at times. And we're really generating courseware that seamlessly integrates with the LMS, but is much more centered around using the full capacity of the technology available. It's putting faculty at the center, not the IT people, and necessarily coders of simulations, all right? So that the faculty can control this. It's all about the learning experience, okay? So it's not just content. It's a learning experience. It's not one size fits all. It is what we call rich, interactive, and adaptive. It has data-driven continuous improvement with analytics, which we can maybe show if we have time. And it's about adaptive lessons, adaptive courses, simulations. We're trying to move away from old digital formats, which is just PDFs and ebooks. And this is an example of the type of things that we're talking about. Here is a virtual field trip that students go and visit sites as if they were out in the field, and they are guided and they look at different geological specimens and things like that. Here's a full-grown integrative project that students work on in order to evaluate whether there is life in the universe, and it integrates all their knowledge. And it's effectively the largest component of the assessment, and it really gets to the heart of have students actually learned something. And there are simulations and virtual laboratories. And here's an example of the biology course that we have. This is a learn space where the students start and they have their journey mapped out for them, and they are in control of the pace of their learning. It's personalized, and they also, here's an example that we'll actually show you today. This is a simulation that, you can only teach very complicated concepts with good tools. And so this is what we're trying to provide faculty and empower them with simulations, 3D models of DNA that really do give all this intrinsic feedback to students. And so just to give you a quick framing, we had an existing course. It's called Habitable Worlds, and we thought it was special because this is the type of feedback we've been getting, and I really can't kind of express it as good as the students do. This is the unsolicited feedback that we were getting from students. I was able to open up my mind to concepts that scared me, and I saw that I could do it. If this is science, I can actually do it. And they realized they could actually be fun as well. And to give you a sense, this is some more feedback that we've been receiving, and so I'm kind of just highlighting a few in bold here. This gets to the heart of the project. I felt I was truly learning instead of just memorizing and regurgitating. For another example, and this is another outcome of the course where we're trying to get students to really engage in science. One of these students said that I had no interest in science prior, but now it made the impossible seem possible. Others are saying that opened up their eyes. It made science fun. So what is it about this courseware? Well, maybe two key components that we think is is the philosophy behind this courseware that we're building, and you'll get a chance to actually see this in a second. One of them is this idea of exploration. We think that science and even learning is an exploration of the unknown, not just mastery of facts. And this goes very high level in the objectives of scientific reasoning, understanding what science is, down to a pedagogical approach, getting students in the lessons to do problem solving. They're not told the answer a lot of the time. They have to solve problems, and this teaches them the scientific method. Down to individual simulations, which you will see in a second, are very exploration-based. There's all this intrinsic feedback. They need to interact with the simulation, and they explore, and that leads to deeper learning. Another key component is this idea of a compelling question. All the courseware is wrapped in this big, compelling, authentic science problem. For example, are we alone in the universe? It's a real science problem, and to address this real science problem, students do a little bit of a transdisciplinary approach. They kind of learn a little bit of some different disciplines. Even though we're building a biology course that maps very carefully to an introductory biology learning objectives, they still get a sense that they're solving a real scientific problem at the frontier of human knowledge, because the problems to real scientific the solutions to real scientific problems don't fit into tidy disciplinary bins. We're also going to attack another big question, which is, can we survive, or can we survive an epidemic? And that's another series of courses that we'll be producing around a more biomedical theme. So I highlight the fact that this approach is actually starting to get a lot of traction in the media, and from maybe not so conventional outlets such as Nature, which is usually for research articles. There's a very provocative quote in this recent Nature article: "At this point, it is unethical to teach in any other way," referring to this idea of inquiry-based learning, where you contextualize the learning in a real problem like an epidemic, or solving whether we're alone in the universe. And there's nothing really that new. We've known for a long time that this idea of, it used to be called inquiry-based learning. We know that this is a really good way to teach. It contextualizes the learning for students. But now there's a lot of digital formats and a lot of evidence that this is actually working. And this is why this kind of quote comes out: it's unethical to teach in any other way. But the problem is, it's very hard. You need to wrap a narrative or a problem in the courseware, and that's a complicated process in curriculum design. So what we're trying to do is provide tools to scale this up, to empower faculty with the right tools so that they can use these approaches and use these simulations and use this active learning in the classroom. So we've developed a center and a partnership with Arizona State University. There's a center specifically set up called the Center for Education Through Exploration. That's one component. It's a collaboration with ASU and a collaboration with other institutions in the network. And we also have some pretty good data right now on the effectiveness of the courseware. We have been able to show that students actually increase their understanding of the scientific method. And this is very early kind of data that we have on one of the courses, Habitable Worlds. And that's kind of the purpose of a lot of this program now, is to actually run broader evaluations now with the courseware. And that's what we're trying to do with this RFP, and working with Achieving the Dream and all the fantastic things that they're doing. We also have been able to ask students and self-reported questionnaires. They are telling us that they're they think that even if I forget the facts, I'll still be able to use the thinking skills that I learn in science. And that's getting to these learner success outcomes that we care about. Okay, so what actually is it? It's a whole set of courses, and this is an example of one of those big questions. Are we alone? Then breaks out into 4 individual courses. And right now, for this evaluation, we have the Habitable Worlds Gen Ed course. It's just a Gen Ed science course. And then the biology course. That is currently, we have a few lessons available, and we'll have the full course available for spring. And then next year sometime we'll be building the chemistry course next, and then eventually the physics course. So that brings us to the fact that there's a community, and the power really is in the community and the faculty that are building all these fantastic learning experiences. And as I said, we're a year in, and we actually have a fair bit of traction. So we currently have 40 2-year and 4-year institutions that are part of the network. There are probably about 20 institutions piloting Courseware right now. And our goal is to get to about 150,000 low-income disadvantaged students. And this project is mainly 2-year institutions because we are targeting low-income disadvantaged students, and that's a mandate by the foundation and the charitable purpose of the project. And something we're very passionate about. And the foundation has, the funding has allowed us to provide all this support and subsidize the courseware at $25 per student. That can actually replace a more expensive textbook. Here's some feedback from some faculty. I can share this presentation later and see, but there's a couple of really nice quotes from the different faculty that are piloting the courseware. And now I wanted to really just, now that I've framed it a little bit, I wanted to hand it over to my colleague Lucian Khan, who will just give you a very quick demo of some of the courseware and give you a sense of what this really is so you can see for yourself. He's going to show you the biology course, but I'll just show you Habitable Worlds briefly. This is the student learn space. They have a series of lessons and modules that they work through. And this is a project, for example, that we were talking about. They need to click on stars and they take observations and emulate what real scientists do. They have the observations and they build out a model, and then they classify stars. Then they learn about the spectrum and whether this star may have a planet and whether it's habitable. And they start to learn about the greenhouse effect and about atmosphere and things like that. So this is a project that integrates all their learning. And I'll hand over to my colleague now to do a quick demo of the biology course.
Hi everyone. So at this point in the biology course, students have already completed a good portion of the course. They've visited some key ecosystems and learned about the amazing diversity on planet Earth. They then travel to the Galapagos and go through a series of case studies to understand how that diversity came to be, so they understand speciation. And then at this into the cell portion of the course, they take a step back and they look at what all life has in common. And students actually will get to explore cells in 3 dimensions. They'll fly into a cell and it'll be sort of like a virtual field trip in a cell. They'll fly by organelles. You can see here DNA coiled up in all of its glory. And we actually worked really closely with some professors that are already in the network to create this course. And we, asked them, what are some common misconceptions that your students have? And one of them was that they think a DNA is very short. Incorporating those flybys and showing DNA coiled addresses that misconception, among others. In this portion of the lesson, they've already completed some content about some of the key scientific players, Watson and Crick, Rosalind Franklin, that helped in the discovery. And then they learned about the structure of DNA by actually putting together a strand themselves. So they start by creating the nucleotides, and then they create a single strand. And they have to begin matching to create a double helix. And you can see that as they do this, the strand actually twists, so it transitions from 2 dimensions to 3 dimensions, addressing yet another misconception that students tend to have, which is that they're so used to seeing just a 2-dimensional model of DNA that they don't often realize that the two-dimensional and the three-dimensional models are depicting the same thing. Another feature that this simulation offers that most models of DNA don't, it actually allows mismatched base pairs. And this provides some really important intrinsic feedback to the students. They can clearly see on all the other bonds that there's a bond formed. It's indicated by a dotted line. The double helix has formed properly. Here, actually, there's no bond, and the DNA is bulging outwards. There's also going to be a measuring tool that says, DNA width 1 nanometer. And if there's a mismatched base pair, it bulges out, and that'll jump to 1.65 nanometers. And it's this type of feedback that really allows a student to get an amazing understanding of a very complex molecule like DNA.
All right, thank you, Lucian. So I hope that gives you a sense of what this courseware is and what you can do with it. I wanted to then briefly discuss what it actually means to join the Inspark Science Network. And currently there are 3 phases. Essentially there is a piloting phase that a lot of institutions are already, like I said, taking part and doing this, and Renee is one of those. There's no commitment, and you can use a portion of the courseware if you like. Then there is an evaluation phase, and we have a world-leading research and evaluation team that is providing meaningful evaluations. And this is where we want to focus for this program, because we want to provide each institution with an opportunity to use the full course and have all the support in terms of getting data, running an evaluation that gets to not just course grade and completion, although they're really important, but also gets to things like, well, what is their improvement in scientific reasoning? Because that's really at the heart of this project, what we're trying to achieve. And so this is generally the process of joining, the 3 phases of joining. And so now we'll go into, well, what actually is on offer for this program. What does an institution get? What does the faculty receive? And what do students receive? And then we'll have a chat with Renee and talk about his experience. So for institutions, there is never any cost, and there never will be, even past this, the life of this project, which is, 1 year in and a 3-year project under the Gates Foundation. But obviously, the program is going to become, a nonprofit itself, and will be continuing past that 3-year window. There will be self-assessment guides provided by Achieving the Dream. Like I said, we have the learner success evaluations. You will get access to the Smart Sparrow platform. There will be support from Achieving the Dream on actually gathering qualitative feedback from faculty and students. Achieving the Dream will also be providing some help and advice, as well as Inspark, on aligning with the student success agenda. And finally, there will be participation and promotion, like a spotlight, for these institutions at different ATD learning events, such as the Dream 2017 event. For faculty, we have had a lot of success with our Inspark professional development program. So we're offering a half-day webinar or workshop, in-person workshop, up to 5 hours of faculty compensation for release time to actually, if there's any overhead, to actually set up this course for each instructor. We were actually going to help. We have a team. We have an instructional design, instructional solutions team at Smart Sparrow. So we're going to provide instructional design and support for customizing the courseware, because we know that faculty need to customize and adapt this courseware at times. There is dedicated faculty support, and this is really key. Throughout your whole teaching, there's somebody there that you can talk to that can help you with content-specific questions as well as logistics. There's IT, technical support. We work directly with IT to get the LMS integration. And there's also a learning community. There's a whole community of other educators that you can connect with. For students, as we said, there's a subsidized cost of $25 per student, and we're actually offering to reduce this further for institutions that are willing to run a larger, significant number of students through, so that we can do a really meaningful evaluation. So there is opportunity to actually to reduce this even further, even though it's at a very affordable price for students. We will also have dedicated student mentoring and support. What does that actually mean? We're going to help, and Renee can speak to this, provide experienced TAs out of ASU that will actually be able to answer directly student questions in online discussion boards. And we've heard from faculty that's been really, really useful. And so, like I said, the two courses available were Habitable Worlds, which is a Gen Ed science course, originally built out of ASU and now adapted for a community college setting, and the Biology Beyond course, which maps to a traditional 100 biology course, and it works really well for also non-majors. And we're specifically targeting science non-majors in this early phase of the project. So I think at that point it'd be good to ask Renee a couple of questions if he's still there. Renee, are you there?
Sure. I'll be glad to answer questions.
All right. So Renee, I have a couple of questions or things that maybe I think would be useful. And Melanie, feel free to chime in and ask any other questions that might be coming through. But I would love you to tell us a little bit about what your students thought, and maybe whether at the beginning they found this challenging but then worked through it, and the reaction of your students. That's the first thing I think would be really interesting to hear from you. And also I'd love to hear about the adoption at your institution and even this this event that you're holding soon. That's also really, really cool.
Right. One of the things that before I started using the courseware, one of the questions that I had was, how would my students that are non-traditional learners in large, fairly large classes, what would be their reaction to using the courseware, for me to make changes in the courses? How would they? That was one question that I had, and it turns out that the students found this very natural. It didn't require, it hardly required any explanation. So how the students accepted this, reacted to the courseware and to the way in which it's set up, it was fantastic. The students are ready for this, and this contrasts to, for example, I was using before an LMS that required a lot of explanation about navigating. You need to go here, and you need to click here. A lot of navigation issues that to start with, and with this courseware, it was very natural for them. They started bringing their devices, their computers, their laptops to the classroom, which they never did before, even though I always try to encourage that. And also, again, they're non-traditional learners, non-science majors, a lot of weaknesses in quantitative work, a lot of weaknesses in math, and yet they were engaged. That was the most amazing thing for me, that they were engaged and going to the math lab to ask for help, things that did not happen before the courseware. So that was I thought that was great, and of course the students are now with a very, very excited instructor, because as faculty, as a science educator, all of these topics covered in Biology Beyond Habitable Worlds are fantastic. So I have engaged students. The students are getting an excited faculty member that is really interested in science and in the topics that these courses cover, and so it's been stimulating in conversations with colleagues, you know, they that are non-science, and you know, literature professors, psychology professors, history professors, the Earth Ethics Institute here at Miami-Dade. So they're all excited about these topics, and as a result, we've put together a faculty learning community that is, you know, that is by itself is something wonderful, because normally, you know, even though teachers, faculty spend a lot of time with people and students, they don't talk many times. I think probably the rule is they don't really communicate with each other. So the idea that Biology Beyond Habitable Worlds stimulated a faculty learning community at my college with the purpose of designing a student-centered event that's going to take place later in November of this year, that has student activities, presentations, art, that's all basically inspired by Habitable Worlds and Biology Beyond, is fantastic. You know, the idea that you know, different fields, different academic fields, you know, they're enclosed in silos and don't communicate. This has been something that was unplanned. It was spontaneous. You know, the literature professor, the history professor, psychology, Earth literacy and Earth ethics people, they wanted to do something to get the students further engaged in thinking and abstract reasoning, critical thinking. So I thought that the faculty learning community inspired by this was great. The students are, you know, one of the things that you know, that poses a problem in terms of education is, you know, the level of engagement of students, that this Biology Beyond Habitable Worlds are engaging, and the students I've never heard any students, when I see them working in the courseware, they're engaged. They're not. They seem interested, and they have conversations with other students about this, and they use the TAs from the University of Arizona have been fantastic. When I see the students write questions, you know, normal, non-traditional learner, non-science major, when they write a question that sounds, you know, scientific, it's fantastic to see these questions, because they're like very technical, quantitative. This is something that my students, you know, they run away from mathematics, and so they're learning math too, I think. So these are some of the things that that I wanted to share with you, because it's been a really exciting experience for me, and the other professors that hear about this, and so I don't know if I don't know if I answered all the questions or tried to answer all the questions.
That was great. It's very inspiring. Thank you. And I think you hit on a couple of very key points, because everything that we're trying to do, our whole premise is that, and this will come later on in our you know, evaluation, and we have SRI out of Stanford Education as an independent evaluator on top of our own research and evaluation team. But everything we are doing in terms of measuring improvements in engagement in science and scientific reasoning. The whole premise is that this type of courseware and the fact that it's wrapped in a real, compelling, engaging scientific problem is that it will motivate students, and that's really the one thing I know that we can promise. Is that it will engage them, it will motivate them, and we hope that this then, with the support from faculty, leads to improved learner success. That's really what we're hoping. And the second thing I think that was really interesting, Renee, is that the students these days are what we call digital natives, and not only do they easily generally easily, there's definitely some challenges for low-income and underserved students in terms of technology and having access to technology, but generally once they have the courseware, they are digital natives and they get it. And even more than that, we know that they actually they won't tolerate kind of crappy online learning experiences anymore, because they're engaged in really high fidelity online stuff and games outside of their courses. So I think we're meeting them where they are at, and we're trying to also meet faculty where they are at. So thank you. I'm going to press ahead and give a few more details, and then we'll open it up to Q&A, and I'm sure, Renee, there'll be a few more questions for you. So I just wanted to quickly give a very, a quick view of what the actual platform is and the idea of being able to customize it. The platform allows this authoring and customization of the courseware. It's very similar to a PowerPoint presentation. And then you can also start to see some analytics for yourself. I can see here, this is one particular question the students were doing, and this is the proportion of students that on their first attempts, second attempt, third attempt. On the first attempt, I can see that they hit this major misconception. And I can actually go onto the Smart Sparrow platform and I can see this, and I can take this into my next lecture or my next meeting with my students, and I can address this particular misconception. And so that can be powerful to offer kind of real-time interventions. The platform itself allows for many improvements and iterations in the courseware, and this is what is continuously happening. We have a whole production team here, and every time we get feedback from faculty, they help us improve the courseware. And this is currently taking place, and for example, we have one faculty member at Glendale Community College in Arizona who is now taking a sabbatical to take habitable worlds and produce a full astronomy course based off this, using some of the simulations, but generating her own course and then feeding that back into the network so others can use it. So, with all that said, what are the next steps for this specific RFP, this specific next generation courseware evaluation with Achieving the Dream? We are going to be sending everyone who attended or registered for this webinar a detailed program overview. So that's about a 4-page document that details everything, criteria and the process and what's on offer and all the benefits that I listed before. We will also send through documents that detail the learning objectives of the 2 courses, so you can actually see how they map to what's at your current institution. And then we can help with the process of aligning this curriculum. And in that process, there is a survey that we're asking to be completed, and it's essentially just a few questions, short 250-word questions about certain, capacity and interest and what courses you think that might fit with. And so that's due November 13, and then we'll get back to you by November the 23rd. So that's the concrete next steps. And I think, that kind of gets us to the questions part of the webinar. I wanted to leave a lot of time. Hopefully, we've got your interest, and hopefully you like what you saw. And we'd love to answer your questions if you can type them in. I think Melanie already has a few that she's going to put out to myself and Renee?
Yeah, so yes, we already have a few questions, and of course for those who would like to submit questions, you can see we have a reminder of how you can send questions in to us. A couple of folks have asked, how does this integrate with learning management systems, or LMS?
Great question. So for those that are familiar with LTI, it's a protocol that allows student names and course grades to get directly passed back into gradebook. It integrates with all LMSs. So we are currently working with Canvas, Blackboard, Desire to Learn, everything. And the integration is pretty easy to set up. And we work directly with your IT. And we have a team here, and this is what the Gates Foundation funding has allowed us, which is maybe a bit different from traditional or other, courseware offerings, is that we have people here that can set this up and help you and work with you, work through problems, and we're there the whole way. The integration with LMS also allows a single sign-on for students, so they don't get extra logins or anything like that. So it's kind of, for them, they don't even know they're on a new platform. Getting a little bit of feedback from someone's microphone, maybe might be worth muting. There we go, perfect, thank you.
Right. Great, so our next question is, can this courseware be used on other devices such as phones, tablets, etc.?
Yes. Okay. Great. So we are building all courseware in HTML5. So they will all be tablet compatible. So the answer is yes, yes, and yes. And no software is ever required, even on computers, to view this courseware. It's all works in the browser. All modern browsers work. Works on Mac, it works on PC. The minimum requirements I can share, but it's essentially just the latest version of each internet browser, like Firefox, Chrome, Internet Explorer.
How much does this cost for the student after the pilot?
Good question. The cost will maintain the same. It's $25 per student, and that's a mandate throughout the 3-year project with the Gates Foundation, but we're not going to increase that ever. It's this is about any institution can join the Inspark Science Network, and it is targeting low-income disadvantaged students, period. So the goal is to make it affordable.
Great. So it looks like this question is for Renee. How has this changed the way that you deliver your face-to-face courses?
Okay, thank you. I'm still in the process of making adjustments, and so, for example, now I have more time for Earth literacy and Earth ethics and issues that really tie to the courseware, to Habitable Worlds, Biology Beyond, and so these adaptations these changes that I'm making, I think they're good. I think it creates a better experience for the student. So I'm still in the process of adapting, but this term, for example, we're working on we're doing for example trips to national parks. We're doing green activities, restoration projects. In class, we discussed these. We discussed the links with Habitable Worlds that I think has a lot of links to Earth literacy and Earth ethics. So right now, the main adjustment is that it's allowing for sustainability issues to be brought into discussion in class. and so that's the main adjustment, or the adjustment that has worked out the best this term. And like I said, these changes for me, I think they're good. They're good for the students. I think that the scientific literacy they get from Habitable Worlds and Biology Beyond, combined with the Earth literacy I'm trying to implement in my classes, it's great. In order for me to bring these Earth literacy, Earth ethics issues to the class, I'm now taking basically professional development courses in this area, global sustainability. So that, I think that's fantastic for me too. I'm learning a lot from Habitable Worlds. I'm now taking these courses to bring in issues that relate to Habitable Worlds and Biology Beyond that have to do with sustainability and the environment. And so that's been the major change. I think it's a positive change in terms of in terms of education and an educated citizen. And I'm also trying to establish links with local science museums. They have volunteer programs. So getting the students involved in the community, linking this with what they're working on in Habitable Worlds. So these, for me, I think it's positive changes. And so yes, there's some adapting to be done.
Thank you, Renee. That's great. And I think that's a really big, great perspective to have, especially for our faculty on the line. So thank you. We have another question, and of course, because we're working with ATD colleges here, what do the early student success data show for using this courseware?
Okay, great. I can help with that. So, we have, as Renee says, and as I was showing before, we have like a lot of great anecdotal feedback, right? So we have all these unsolicited student feedback that comes from students. There's a team out at ASU with some NSF funding, and they are working on an evaluation of habitable worlds. And they've been doing this for a while, and they've been using self-reported surveys. And so that was that slide that I showed initially that showed that we have a significant improvement in students' understanding of the scientific method, and we also have increases in self-reported interest in science. So they're the two key findings so far, and they're very much aligned with the ambitions of the project at large. What's really interesting though is that what we're trying to do now, and the evaluation that we're doing with our research and evaluation team within Inspark itself. So we spent a lot of time actually talking to institutions and faculty directly in order to make sure that we were going to evaluate the right learner success outcomes. And we've distilled this into a list, and I can share this in, along with the RFP. It's a list of outcomes such as scientific reasoning, persistence, engagement in science, critical and creative thinking. These are really hard things to measure, and so we have researchers out at UT Arlington, so University of Texas at Arlington, and Berkeley, Carnegie Mellon, and they're going to be working along with Stanford to develop instruments. So for example, for scientific reasoning, there will be a module that is essentially standalone, and that we can kind of give this to students in the beginning and maybe in the middle and the end. And this is a standalone module where like one of the interactive projects that you saw, the students will be working through this, and it will actually show across all the courses the improvement in students' understanding of the scientific method. And there's a huge misconception that students come into a lot of the time, and we've seen this in the analytics. For example, there's a dead 50-50 split on a question that we have in Habitable Worlds that asks them, are you going to prove your hypothesis or disprove your hypothesis when the students are asked this question? It is dead 50-50. And so with this module and these instruments and the research team will be able to provide a report at the end of this program, at the end of this evaluation, specifically for the ATD colleges that are involved, and working with data coaches and ATD and the like, and actually show what improvement along these learner success outcomes has taken place.
Great, thank you. And going off that, how do assessments work in the courseware? Are exams and homework included?
Yeah, good question, and I can also let Renee chime in a bit here because this is really up to the instructor in each institution. But there is currently not a multiple choice exam at the end of the course. What we're trying to do, and this is maybe a little bit different, but we believe that by having projects that students work on, and that making up the bulk of their assessment, we think that goes deeper on students' understanding, and it's a much better representative of what they actually know, instead of trying to trip them up with a four-choice, multiple-choice exam. And so we have these built in, and the assessment is automated. So, in terms of the value proposition for an institution, if you think of it, we have a full turnkey course that's ready to go. You can customize it and modify it. All the assessment is built in, and so it's automated. So there are lessons that are actually called training lessons that students will do that doesn't have any assessment, and then they apply their knowledge in what you might call application lessons, and that has a little bit of assessment. And then there are integrating projects that pull together many concepts, and that's basically equivalent to the exam. So we can share syllabus and kind of and go a bit deeper if you'd like, but that's essentially the structure of the course. And obviously, in the value proposition, we're offering something that we believe will draw a lot of students. The students will really love it, and so as it gets traction, they'll tell others, and we're already getting some high enrollments just because the course is interesting.
Great. Good question. What is involved in data reporting, and how is the data pulled?
Okay. So the reporting would involve we have surveys that are automatically in the courseware for students. But what we would ask is that we can survey faculty at the end to understand what worked and evaluate, on site, on the ground, what worked, what didn't. Apart from that, there's a data use agreement that is signed, and essentially there's not a lot that the institution has to do there. They don't have to provide reports or anything like that, but we are after some demographics. So we are interested in things like whether, what proportion, first of all, how many students enrolled. So we need the number of students. We need how many, maybe dropped out, but we also are interested in how many are Pell eligible, for example. And so we're trying to get some understanding of socioeconomic status and anything that you can provide. And so this would be set up directly with our independent evaluator, SRI Education, and they have all the latest kind of security for data transfer. And so we'll kind of be working with them and the institution and ATD to transfer this anonymized data.
Okay, great, thank you. And we're getting a little close for time, but we do have another question. What is the timeline for further build-outs to the course?
Right, okay, so timeline from, I assume that means extra courses and building extra courses. So so within this RFP, there are these two courses, Habitable Worlds Biology. The chemistry course is next, and that chemistry course is within the Are We Alone in the Universe theme, and that should be ready next year, but towards the end of next year. And pretty soon after that, and almost in parallel, we'll be building out the biomedical, can we survive an epidemic biology course. So, a rough timeline for new courses will be towards the end of the year, a biomedical themed biology course, and then Are We Alone in the Universe chemistry course.
Okay, great. I think maybe we should wrap up in terms of time. But any questions that have not been answered, we will follow up with you individually.
All right, sounds good. Well, from our end, just wanted to say thanks for joining. Please feel free to connect directly with Melanie or myself for any other details, and we'll be sending through the document and the link to the survey. And we look forward to hearing what you think and working with many of you.
Thank you.
Great, David. Thank you. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you. Bye.